preparing to live stream the meeting. So I hope we are live, doing it for the first time. Welcome everybody to the second season of Adopting Bitcoin, a conversation with Galoy. I am unsure whether I'm doing this right.
Should be working, huh?
Yeah, I'm seeing something. I'm not seeing it on the stream yet, but I think there is a little bit of a delay between what we're streaming and so as you can see and hear, we're doing this live stream thing for the first time. The first season we recorded on Twitter Spaces and then ripped the audio to upload it as a podcast for everyone to re-listen to. And for the second season, we thought, hey, why don't we just upgrade something? And that's the part we wanted to upgrade. Yeah, I'm still unsure. Oh yeah, now it's starting. Okay, so it seems to be working. It's only me on the screen. But if you guys should be speaking, then you should be visible as well, I suppose. So why don't we quickly start with an introduction round and to tell a little bit about yourselves. Yeah, I have here with me, by the way, the Adopting Bitcoin advisors, but let's start with Moritz. Moritz, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm one of the Spectre guys, Spectre boys, and we do a Bitcoin desktop wallet. Maybe some of the listeners are familiar with it. And we are part sort of the whole Galoy stack, because Galoy is using our technology for as a custody solution, which we're very proud of to be part of that and to support Galoy and to support the mission there at Bitcoin Beach. And yeah, so I was last year twice in El Salvador. I was very excited about that, and happy to hear that the central bankers apparently made their way there too. So I'll pass over to Jeff. What's up?
Okay. So before I make my introduction, it seems that we're not live on YouTube yet. I cannot see anything, and Noor has confirmed that she doesn't see anything else. So I'm not sure if we just go ahead and you upload it later. Or do we start?
No, we don't start over. I think the issue is that I had scheduled something and it didn't connect to that stream that I had scheduled. So it started a brand new stream for some reason. And what are you saying, Moritz?
We're on, all good.
Yeah, it's working.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, I'm in here. I don't need to see it. So anyways, hi, I'm Jeff from Fulmo. We're based in Berlin and have been doing a bunch of events over the last year, mostly related to the Lightning Network. And we also did the Lightning Conference in 2019 in Berlin and kind of got involved in adopting Bitcoin last year through that, sort of as to bring in some expertise and all that. And I guess it went all right. So this year I'm joining to learn from them, from adopting Bitcoin and join the fun again. We also went to El Salvador last year. That was pretty cool.
We had a delegation. You organized a delegation of 35 crazy Germans.
Yeah, that too.
German
Yeah.
speakers.
Yeah. We reached out to the ambassador of El Salvador in Germany, in Berlin, and just talked to her and introduced ourselves, and this kind of culminated in having this delegation group during adopting Bitcoin as well, which kind of granted us bunch of meetings with also all sorts of different ministers and politicians, as well as getting some exclusive first access to the mining facility in Berlin, in Usultan at the geothermal power plant, and that was pretty cool. And we're actually trying to set this up again this year. Still in talks because there's still some time left, but hopefully we're going to do this again.
All right, Rodrigo, what's up?
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Looking forward to welcome you all again to El Salvador in November. We had such an interesting and great time last time. I was honored to be a part of that. My name is Rodrigo. I am with the business development team of Btc Field here in El Salvador, and we've been very active here for last year. So looking forward to the next month to prepare the next adopting Bitcoin.
Yeah, and you had a big announcement last year that you can Bitrefill, your CEO, he announced that you can completely live on Bitcoin now in El Salvador with Bitrefill. Is that true?
Yes. Last year, during the Adopting Bitcoin, it was the perfect platform to announce our bill payment service in El Salvador, where which has become very popular. I can talk more about this later when we talk about what has happened during the last year.
Super. Who's next? Andrew or Alex? I don't know.
Hey all, Andrew from Galway. For those that don't know us, we built the Bitcoin Beach wallet and the open source banking platform that runs beneath it. And so was at Adopting Bitcoin, of course, last year, and traveled to El Zante and, tipped to street musicians with sats. And I mean, the experience was magical, both the conference, the country, and the experience. And so, really excited about this year's conference and making sure that, everybody knows and signs up early and gets in, because, it's really a hell of a place to be, to meet Bitcoiners and to work on helping adoption. I think that it helped both, bring attention to El Salvador and the needs there, as well as, open people's minds into what some of the challenges are and things to work on. So glad to be here.
Last for me. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. Alex here. I'm the head of business development for Bolt Observer. So I'm assuming that many of you probably don't know what Bolt Observer is, but this is actually a product from AB21, or part of it, at least part of the story, because I met with the founder at the airport, thanks to the German delegation, because the German delegation was taking quite a lot of space at the airport, and all the rest of the plane had the other lines available. So I met with the founder. We took the taxi together, and Bolt Observer was created in March, and I joined them as an early employee beginning of March as well. So that's kind of I think the interesting story and the kind of serendipity you can get out of one of the conferences, such as Adopting Bitcoin. So this is where the magic happens. I'm really looking forward to get more magic again for Adopting Bitcoin 2022.
What are you working on with Bolt Observer? Can you talk a little about that?
Right, yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Bolt Observer is basically a platform for monitoring and management of nodes, for professional nodes. And we are trying to develop an entire tooling so that basically every single node operator has everything at hand. No need to go and try to find some tools all over the place, but trying to have all the tools to monitor the reachability, the observability, liquidity management, and a bunch of new things that we are working on at the moment.
Building for that hyper-Bitcoinized world with a lot of node runners, sovereign node runners, I see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We need that. We do.
Awesome. And we also have Vlad now with us. Hi, Vlad. Can you hear us? Maybe not yet. Let's give him a little bit more of time to acclimatize. So originally, I wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about what's been happening also in El Salvador this week, because as you might have heard on Twitter, it's been quite a hype that Nayib Bukele has been pushing, basically comparing it to the Bretton Woods of Bitcoin, in 1945 or something. I don't remember. I think in 1945, Bretton Woods happened, right?
44.
With 44. So it was 44 countries that got together in 1944, and to basically, start a new financial world order. And now 2022, it's 42 countries, different ones, coming together in El Salvador to talk about. Not only, it might have seemed like they came to just talk about Bitcoin, but they also talked about Bitcoin. It was a big part of what's going on. Matter of fact, they're right now in Bitcoin Beach, I heard, and trying to buy pupusas with sats from their Lightning wallets. So, let's maybe postpone that a little bit to later, because we still have the chance of Nicola and Chimbera and Noor joining us if they make it. It depends probably how much instruction and handholding the central bankers need using Bitcoin. So let's save that a little bit for later. And I want to know from you guys, what is your take on the adoption process of El Salvador so far? Most of you have been in El Salvador and at the Adopting Bitcoin conference for the first installation. You've been following it closely through the media or being even on the ground. I think, Rodrigo, you live there, right? Jeff, you spent a long vacation there after the conference and for a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
So the only guy who was not there is Vlad. Have you been to El Salvador?
No, I haven't yet, but
okay.
I'm here for a reason which concerns helping the people learn how to use Bitcoin non-custodially, and the fact that I have this magazine which I created this year, and I'm having it translated into Spanish, and I might just give it to them so they can print as many copies as they can.
Okay, so and you're doing the Btc Takeover Podcast, and together with that, you're now having a print magazine.
Yeah, but the podcast is in English, so I'm not sure if it helps them too much.
All right.
I'm trying to give them something that they can enjoy locally and not have, a learning curve which involves learning a new language.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually an interesting point, because I think even though there is sure, we need a lot of education in El Salvador, but and most of the education is available in English language. And now we're doing this Adopting Bitcoin conference. Obviously, we're trying to have Spanish talks as well and translate most of the talks into Spanish simultaneously, like we did last year. We're going to do that again. But I would argue or ask you guys, is there maybe also value for the Bitcoiners that are speaking English there as multiplicators, basically, just for a conference, even though it's not directed at the broad population. Most of the conferences are not directed towards the people in the streets, right? They don't really worry about those things that we talk about at the conference. But is it a help to those on the ground that are pushing forward these educational efforts that we're seeing, like Mi Primer Bitcoin, Torogos Dev, that's in cooperation with Chaincode Labs, and all the other initiatives? Or who would you say is the primary beneficiary of Bitcoiners coming to El Salvador?
I think, Rodrigo, you're the best to answer. You're the man on the ground and you're the local. So how you see that?
I am the local. I think that what we've been, now that we have more time to plan the program and everything, unlike last year, I think that we have time to give some attention to the locals as well, because we're going to have different parts of the program. One is going to be devoted to people that are developers, another that are more economy, and why not try to have one part that it's completely devoted to Salvadorians. And as you mentioned, mi primer Bitcoin, La Casa del Bitcoin, Torogos Dev, those three are very interesting initiatives that have been born in a way here in El Salvador. I guess that Paxful already has some education efforts all around the world. But what's interesting is that at Bitrefill, we're having a Spanish podcast where we're trying to interview people from all over Latin America. And what we find is that it is the different needs in other countries that kind of motivate different programs or solutions that are coming from all of those countries. So it's interesting that these solutions that have been born in El Salvador, like those three I mentioned, Mi Primer Bitcoin, Torgos Dev, and like I said, Bitcoin, it's a response to the needs of education. As you said, Kemal, before, that's what everybody agrees on, what's going to be needed for the adoption of Bitcoin to be a success here in El Salvador. So I don't think there is a need to, just responding to the question quickly, maybe I already did, there is no need to actually exclude the local population. I think we should do the opposite and try to have a special section for them. And maybe in that part, go as far as making the content live, easy to stream for the population, etc. Things like that. Already live. That part, that where we want to the message to be broadcasted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was something I would say last year we did so well. I was hoping for more local companies or local developers and people to come. There was a good chunk of them there, but we were like probably 700, and I would say like the locals were like 10%, like 70 to 100 locals. And it was a little bit tricky because on the other side of the street, a little bit up the road, we had La BitConf, which was basically planning around the Adopting Conference and Adopting Bitcoin conference. So this time we will have a much clearer signal with less La BitConf noise around us, as it's just us, and Adopting Bitcoin will be, I think, 3 times as large, I guess.
Anybody have an idea how the quota of locals to foreigners was at the La BitConf conference? Was it same or different?
I think that they say that the numbers that they present are everything from 2,000 to 20,000 to counting the event on the last Saturday. So it's really difficult to say, but I would still say that from what I know, I should be like 70% that were Salvadorians at La BitConf. That's my guesstimate, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so that's a considerable amount more than at Adopting Bitcoin last year.
Yeah, because I think that most of the content as well, I wasn't there, as you'll know, but I think that most of the content was in Spanish, which makes it more easier, because English, no matter that, I think that most of the people that you will be in contact here while in El Salvador, of course they will speak English, but the language is still a barrier, a bigger barrier than we might think still.
Yeah.
All right. So we have somebody joining here with the sunglasses, live and direct from El Sonte. What's up, Nicola? And you got a haircut. Hello. That's great. You got a haircut only for this event, or what's happening?
Yeah, everything. Even the nice view, right, from Garten. So.
Perfect.
Oh, that's looking nice. Making me jealous.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part. I was on my way to Wellington. I guess we're talking about adopting Bitcoin, and we'll talk about the central banker at the end, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much time do you have? Do you have time to join us for an hour, or otherwise you can just go ahead and tell us how the week went?
Yeah, okay. Is Chimbera here, or should I just go? No, I don't.
Kick it off.
All right. So yeah, basically there is a week where about 100 central bankers are here in El Salvador. 3 days in San Salvador, 1 day in El Zonte. I think they're arriving about in 1 hour here in El Zonte. So the conference is not necessarily about Bitcoin. It's a conference that is organized every year by a working group of 44 central banks. What they are focusing on is on financial inclusion. And so their goal is to discuss basically every year about, okay, what are the challenges for financial inclusion and how we can how they can do better, in their country to get more financial inclusion. So there was on Monday there was one talk about Bitcoin, which I did with Chimbera, and so we talked for about maybe 45 minutes about the benefits of Bitcoin in El Salvador and why they should consider it. There was a lot of questions, and the questions were interesting. They were like, okay, what's the difference with CBDC, and how do we do consumer protection with Bitcoin? And if the price of Bitcoin goes down, how do we refund the user? Which is an interesting one. Overall, I can say that so the first thing, contrary to what you may have read online, like it's not a conference about Bitcoin. It's really a conference about financial inclusion, and there was just this one talk about Bitcoin that we did. I think today they are coming to Horizonte, and it will be more about, I guess, experiencing what Lightning can do. An interesting piece for me, I assisted most of the result talk on Monday, and for every question that was asked, in my mind, the answer was Bitcoin fixes this. But yeah, they've basically no clue about Bitcoin at this point, at least the working group that are coming here. To give you some insight, I think that was interesting. So after the talk, there was a booth where they could try the Bitcoin Beach wallet just to experiment, how Lightning works, basically. And a significant portion of them didn't really know how to install an app on their mobile phone. And so that was a first surprise to me. But if you look at the age, a lot of them are in their 60s, and like basically they're not really, I guess, dive into technology much. Another interesting aspect. So after installing the app, basically there is a CAPTCHA to create the account. And also many didn't know how to do the CAPTCHA. So, like you have a slider and you need to move the slider, which someone on our team, asked us, is it human or is it robot? Because usually the robot should be the one that doesn't know how to do the CAPTCHA. Anyway,
so you got some good user experience feedback watching these 60-year-old bankers trying to solve the CAPTCHA.
yeah.
So I want what was the first question after your talk from the audience?
I mean, the very first question is, okay, what's the difference between Bitcoin and CBDC? And basically, they didn't really know the difference, right? And so, yeah, the other question is like, okay, us as a central bank, our role is to do, set interest rate and set policies. Like if we use Bitcoin, what does it mean for us? And, it's a question you can expect. My answer to this question was that, so basically all those central bankers are from developing country, and I guess all of them, if most of them, but probably all of them, their currency is being devaluated against the dollar, and the inflation is probably much higher than the inflation that you will have in the US. And so my first insight was say, if you want to defend your currency and not getting devalued as much, you could start to consider Bitcoin as a reserve asset, and you can allocate a small fraction of your reserve into Bitcoin, and it will eventually help maintain the purchasing power of your currency. So I hope this argument went through some of them at least. I tried to come up with the argument also that adopting Bitcoin is useful to build your energy grid, because you have, as a miner, like this is something we will try to push for Central African Republic. The miner may want to come in a regulation that is friendly to Bitcoin, and in a place where you don't have a good electricity grid, it can really help, because you can have these miners that are attached to your power plant to get started. It's your first customer for your power plant directly. And so as the grid is built out, then you can switch from using miner to having the population start to use electricity, which in many developing countries, I think would be a valid argument. I don't think this argument really resonates, because they really focus on central banking and, energy grid and things like that is something that is foreign to them. And I don't think they really think about it or have anything to say about it, but I at least try to mention it to see if the argument will, maybe. lead
How
somewhere.
How was the reaction overall by these? Like, is there interest? Are they saying, "Okay, this is interesting, let's look into it," or are they like, "You are whatever orange coin crazy person, and this is just a one example here, and it's not really working"? Like, how's the discussion there?
So yes, probably they were thinking we were a bit crazy, me and Subera, about Bitcoin for sure. Like, central bankers are probably some of the most risk-averse people you can think of, I guess. And so, our talk was very enthusiastic and about how financial inclusion is working for El Salvador. Yeah, but that's I can think the other talk was really about so let's say Bangladesh, they have this KYC program and it help grow financial inclusion from, I'm just throwing up number here, but let's say for 40 to 50% over the last couple of years, and those talks were really not interesting really, and there was not a lot of question at the end of every of those talks. What I can say is at the end of the talk regarding all Bitcoin conversation, like this is where all the conversation happen and all the discussion happen and a lot of questions. So I guess they have a lot of interest in my mind, but they also don't understand it, right? At least this particular working group don't understand it. They would like to understand it, and I'm sure this trip will help them to maybe dive into this more as they come back to their country. But they're really, very normie at this stage, in my opinion. It's important to also highlight, like, it's not representative of probably the average central banker in maybe developed countries that probably have people working on that. Like, this working group is about financial inclusion, and it's a working group from developing countries. So it's really a subset, a small subset of central banks.
All right. So today, pupusa day. Keep working on him. Keep working on it. Throw the pupusas and the satoshis at them.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a good experience. I mean, I didn't expect to, any time in my life, be in front of central banker trying to teach Bitcoin. That was fun for sure.
And Nicola, what's the role of Salvador here, a part of hosting? Do you think that they will also position themselves as the kind of consulting country for other central banks, or advising at least entity for other central banks, or it's just hosting and I think it's going to stop here?
For this particular event, it's about hosting, I think, mainly, right? But also it's like, why did they choose to come to El Salvador, right? I mean, it's because, okay, sure, they can learn more about Bitcoin. And so for this particular event, I would say Austin is really the answer, but I believe there will be other countries that are considering this. I'm sure they will want to travel here and meet the government and get insights. Like, this feels obvious to me. But I believe in that case, that would be more, government, maybe. And there is also, we have to differentiate government and central bank. Like, they're related, but they can be also different. Like, central bank is really I believe in most countries, at least in the United States, like it's also, they represent banks, and banks have sometimes different interests than government. And here it's very clear in El Salvador, like basically the government is the one pushing Bitcoin, the banks, and also I believe to some extent the central banks, they're not as much involved with this Bitcoin law and Bitcoin integration, right? Today the banks in El Salvador, like, no one, to my knowledge, is really offering you Bitcoin banking at this point, right? And so we also have to differentiate banks and central bank. And I think if some entity want to work with the government of El Salvador, it would be more likely other government body more than central banks, in my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So we have 44 there, or 40 of these countries there. If we have like 1, 2, 3, 4 countries coming out of this getting more interested, it's already a pretty huge success, because like people have first-hand experience. It's not like some intellectual voodoo exercise. It's they have an app and they can pay for the pupusa, and it's gonna probably click a little bit with them, and they say, okay, what's happening here? What's our financial inclusion problem? How can we work on this? And let's talk to this Bitcoin Beach people and the Gala guy more. It's good to see. I hope you're inviting them to the Adopting Bitcoin All.
We did.
That.
We did. We even had a discussion. Okay, should we give them free ticket or discount? I think Kemal pushed back on the idea of free ticket, and so we give them a discount code. So definitely we want to. I mean, if they want to join, they should be welcome to Adopting Bitcoin 100%.
Very good.
And from all of those countries that participated, there were like 44 different countries, right? From all different regions, like Latin America, African countries, Asian countries. Did you see some kind of like, can you say like certain region that had more interest or that understood it more fluently than others, or were there ones that were especially interested? And some very, very reserved towards it. Can you talk a little about that, or is that too discreet?
No. I think so. Noor talked to a lot of Arab-speaking country, and our input was that they said themselves that they will be the last to adopt this type of currency. They think. I think the countries that seem the most attuned to it are country in Latin America, which is not a surprise, right? Like, I mean, this is where it started, and it's like very close to them. I think the El Salvador experience speaks to them, right? The fact that El Salvador, for the first time, has like more than 10% increase in GDP, a large increase in tourism. Like, I mean, the neighboring country look at it, right? Like they know about it, they heard about it. It's really present for them, I'm sure. And so they're the ones that are, the more familiar with it. I think Africa, for me, I see a lot of potential with Africa. I talked with multiple also African countries. For them, I believe the El Salvador law and is a bit more foreign to them, because like if you're in somewhere in Africa, you don't necessarily think about El Salvador and talk about it much. I think what could have a strong effect for the country in Africa is Central African Republic. So if these take a similar path compared to El Salvador, and like there is a lot of positive things happening there in the next year or a couple of years, I'm sure it will generate a lot of interest from other African countries, and they will want to maybe replicate it or go a similar path.
Awesome. So Giacomo has joined us, and
hey,
yeah.
Hi everybody. How are you?
Very good. Just like, what's your take on the adoption process in El Salvador? What can you see, Giacomo, from afar? Or what would you like to ask Nicola? You have a question to Nicola.
Well, from afar, but there's also what I remember when we were there for the first Adopting Bitcoin conference. So my impression after that, I also promised everybody to write, to make a video about that, but I'm lazy and I never did. So my impression was basically a three-tier impression. So there was one level of spontaneous adoption from the bottom up, which was basically all around the Bitcoin Beach project. It was a serious project with real work in order to build it from the ground up. So you could see level of understanding, level of awareness of Bitcoin and advantages. You could see people using cool wallets like the Bitcoin Beach wallet, which is federated, custodial, but in a very interesting way. And also non-custodial wallets, like many people were using Phoenix Moon or other kind of things, or Breeze. On the other side, or even if you use custodial, but it was like custodial, which were custodial type of wallet, very integrated with the community, like using Strike. On the Bitcoin Beach, you could see the Strike symbol. Then you have On the other side of the extreme, you have the very top-down Bukele circle of, or like the big businesses in the capital adopting Bitcoin with a good amount of investment. Like if you go to McDonald's, they use OpenNode. It's flawless. It's great. It works perfectly. So they have OpenNode, and that's very, very cool. In between, though, you could see between from the geographical point of view, so between the capital and the beach, and in between from the social point of view, so between the rich part of the capital, at least in relative terms, and the very poor Bitcoin Beach community in relative terms, of course, you can see basically some desert of understanding. If you go to if you go to a gas pump just before El Tunco, and you asked to pay in Bitcoin at least 1 year ago, maybe now it's different, but the guy was just hating you because he was like, I already have a credit card, so I know how to use it. I don't need this shit. Don't even explain to me. Just give me cash or use this credit card. While if you do the same in Marriott Hotel in the capital, they have OpenNode and they just use it. If you do the same in Bitcoin Beach, they don't have a credit card to sell this coconut or whatever. They do need Bitcoin because they don't have an alternative. So I think that it would not be trivial, or maybe it's getting better, but it was not trivial back then to bridge the place where the top-down influence of the government worked fine, and the place where the bottom-up spontaneous initiative of Bitcoin Beach was growing and was leaving something in between. But I think it's for us to try to feel it. And I'm looking forward to go back there to see how it evolved and how it's still like that or not.
I never imagined I will hear you to say the top-down approach of the government worked. I mean, or kind of worked. Also, how did you decide to agree to support adopting Bitcoin conference? Sorry, I have to between libertarians, I have to troll you a little bit here when you say the top-down approach of the government.
No, well, I mean, that's a common. Of course, it's a simplification, but some people outside of the libertarian mindset, they also do get this wrong. Top-down and planning are not wrong. The point is, who is central planning for who? So when you open a business, you are a central planner of your business. You have a top-down approach because you have to hire people. It's okay to have top-down plans on reality. The point is the scope. If you plan on your property and you have skin in the game and you are the one suffering the consequence of a bad plan, the plan can work and scale. You can create an empire, business empire, of course. You can create, you can be a visionary entrepreneur. You can create something big. If you plan with other people paying the consequences of your mistake, then everything becomes bad very, very, very fast. In this case, we have like something in the mix. A government is a bad version of central planning for sure, and I think that's well represented in the quality of the wallet Chivo. That is probably objectively the worst part of the El Salvador experiment. Chivo, when I was there, it was a nightmare. It was basically showing only a fiat interface, so it doesn't represent the value of Bitcoin as an alternative to the fiat inflation and the fiat dominion and the fiat colonization. So it just shows US dollar, and then you have to use this very ugly UX in order to get Bitcoin. And this Bitcoin part was only on chain, and you need to do something crazy from the UX point of view in order to get Lightning, which was heavily promoted as, Lightning as payment network. And if you got Lightning, a good amount of the time it was failing because of they told me later it was because most of it was built in a rush because the president said, let's do it. And so there was a lot of mess, a lot of chaos, and they had to deliver. And even when the Lightning transaction was succeeding, still people were basically locked in a custodian system with zero privacy, because in order to get people this incentive of $30, they had to implement KYC stuff. So even if you go through the hell of Chivo and you arrive to something that can be similar to Lightning, you still don't get it because you're not a Lightning, you're not private, you don't have privacy, you don't have custodianship, full custody of your stuff. So I think that the failure of central planning was evident in Chivo. That said, something like a big business like McDonald's using a big business like OpenNode I think that was a good central planning, because that was I mean, we can hate on McDonald's for various reasons, but they are efficient. They have skin in the game. The McDonald's management in the country had some skin in the game. They had to face this new legal tender law. They called a business which is open node, which is central planned in a good way. They were well organized. They got together and they got something working fine. It's non-custodial. I mean, it's custodial, but in that case, it's also very different, because one thing is a single guy in a Zonte not having the keys. In that case, you may have future episodes of censorship, of confiscation. The other, and the value of Bitcoin is that if they hold the key, they cannot be confiscated. And if they have privacy, they cannot even be asked to be confiscated. While on the other hand, in a scenario of confiscation, the company funds of McDonald's are probably, I mean, if you are the manager of McDonald's, you don't run in exile with your key in order to save the money of the company. You just say, okay, keep the keys, and you just go. So it's the business case is not the business, which is not self-custodian, is not that a problem for me. It's okay that McDonald's is not storing the key, because they will not defend it against a confiscation anyway. While that would be way more important in the grassroots part of the community, in the Zonte context, for example.
So we have to push on the grassroots and to push the self-custody and go that way. And but who better to ask than Chimbera? How are you?
I'm good. I'm super exciting. Sorry for being late, but as you know, I think we're receiving the delegation from the central banks today here in El Zonte. So we are preparing a little bit, for this event, because it's exciting that they will test and they will see how Lightning Network work in real actions, So I don't know, I'm super excited about it, and we'll post some pictures later. So we're working on this today. So I'm really sorry to be late.
No worries. Great to have you on. So how's the education working? I heard Mi Premier Bitcoin and House of Bitcoin, Casa de Bitcoin is making progress. Like, where do we stand on the education? What's any updates there?
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see other projects coming, to help with education, because I think we all understand that El Salvador is super important now, and it will succeed. It will be like a successful, but it's require a lot of work in education. We all know that, and I think we all can contribute to that, because like education is a really hard part, and more when it comes for money, because we all learning in a different way, and we all learning in different times, and we all can educate different people. So more people are working in education is better, and everyone is playing like a really important role in this, like Mi Primer Bitcoin, La Casa de Bitcoin, Bitcoin Beach, the tourism, like I have been like super surprised how the tourism like come here, and they're educating a lot of people too, because maybe the locals are more willing to hear, when they see or they talk to the tourism and say like, hey, I'm here because of Bitcoin, Bitcoin changed my life. I do everything in Bitcoin. They're like, wait a minute, like he's traveling here and his life have been changing about Bitcoin. So they're kind of more open also to listen what they're saying. And like I say, like education is exciting. It's hard, but it's where you connecting with people and you understanding like the problems and the solution that Bitcoin is bringing to all of them. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
We see you having a big smile and you're very excited for this day. So I can understand you very well. Okay. And he's off, I guess. But Vlad, you haven't been to El Salvador, and nevertheless, you sort of decided to support the Adopting Bitcoin conference. How did you come to this decision to take the jump and be on this sort of advisory board here?
Yeah.
Hi. So I created a magazine which is free and open source. Anyone can download it from GitHub and can print as many copies as they want. And tomorrow I'm gonna be in Prague at Pizza Day, and they're also creating their own version of the magazine because it's open source, and they're gonna have their own cover and they're gonna sell it at the event, which I think is really cool. And I envision something similar but in Spanish for the locals from El Salvador. And not just them, but the entire Latin America and Spanish-speaking world, because it's a huge world out there outside of this English bubble. And I think that part of the adoption and education needs to happen in their own language. There needs to be no barrier with their entry. They need to figure out how everything works without having any kind of hurdles. And I have a guy who already translated like 80% of my articles. His name is Roberto Scott. He's from Argentina, and I'm very grateful for his efforts. And all I have to do right now is just take that text and pay someone to put it on top of the graphics. And after that, we can proceed to printing magazines, making them go burr, and onboarding as many people as possible with the right kind of education to become sovereign with their own money. Because that was my criticism. That's why I was contacted by Flaco and Nor. It was the fact that I was very critical last year, and the fact that I can help people on the ground to set up their own wallets, to figure out, like, for example, there's an article about how to obfuscate your IP address, how to use Tor, how to use VPN, stuff like this. That's practical. How profitable it is to mine. I also have one of these articles, or why you should run a node on a Raspberry Pi, stuff like that. All of that is in the magazine, and I hope that is going to be of help to someone who's going to just pick something up. And the reason why I created a magazine as opposed to a book, like, it's very thick. It has like 116 pages. But I created this because it's more approachable. A book requires more commitment. You need to start it from somewhere and get to the other cover. But with the magazine, you just open it when you have 10 minutes. You read maybe a piece of information. You also have accompanying screenshots and stuff that's meant to help you along the way. So yes, this is the reason why I decided to pursue this. And I hope that the locals are going to find use in my work.
Yeah, so just on this, we were just discussing in the 21, the German 21 group, and about doing a magazine the last days, because somebody lost his mind at in a newspaper store where there was some blockchain magazine, and he sort of ranted about it. And now we want to do a 21 magazine. So maybe there's a way to partner and to do this together. So I'll hook you up with the guys from the 21, okay? From the 21. Sure. Great news. All right.
I mean, the topics that Vlad has featured in his magazine are really for Bitcoiners. That's really like Bitcoiners, cypherpunk stuff. And yeah, so it's really great that this will be available in Spanish. But I want to ask, like, Alex, he's been on the ground and has been researching a lot also about the staircase to sovereignty, as he calls it. And Alex, do you think, like, how far are the Salvadorans that you've met, the Bitcoiners, on their journey to sovereignty?
Well, I mean, I can share my experience when I was there. The reason why I traveled there was because, first of all, we need to remember the context. 2021, there was probably one of the first conferences we could afford because Europe was pretty much still under lockdown. So there was a kind of a great opportunity to get out and to mingle with the Lightning ecosystem. So it was a great opportunity. Now, I think it's great for us to talk about impressions, but I would be very happy to see numbers. We talked about financial inclusion. I don't know if Bitrefill has some data on that. I'm trying to see what's the evolution over a year, but I would be very curious to see this number. But in terms of adoption, what I could see, and I very much agree with Giacomo, it's you have the bottom up and top down for sure, and that's basically some of the things that I also identified in the research I conducted for Fulgur Ventures that's here. That was the reason why I traveled to also San Salvador. Try to meet with people and try to understand more what were the roads to hyper-Bitcoinization. And it reminds me a bit of the motivation that you like to grow with children. You have two forms of motivation. You have the intrinsic motivation and the kind of extrinsic motivation. So think coming from inside or outside. For me, Bitcoin Beach is very much from inside. I mean, this is the thing you grow because you need it within your community. You know that it's going to help you. You know that you're going to access different services. You know that it's going to make your life better. I mean, Mi Primer Bitcoin, in my opinion, is something very similar. And then you have the kind of motivation pushed from outside, from the government. I was under the impression that, well, as Giacomo was saying, things were not perfect, but it did have several benefits of sharing this kind of initiative with a much larger part of the population. There are probably things that need to be improved, but for the people who don't need it, that would just remain motivation that is pushed from outside. Mi Primer Bitcoin, I think, has a bunch of benefits, and I'm a big believer of this kind of initiatives because this is, in my opinion, a lot more sustainable, creates some, as I said, intrinsic motivation, and it's like long-lasting. It's not only about teaching Bitcoin. I think it also has the benefits of bringing back to school kids that have been left out of school for probably several years and give them a little bit more hope. I mean, this was also part of the messages that was delivered by people at Bitcoin Beach. I mean, some of the alternatives is to join the gangs, or now they have another alternative, which is trying to trade, trying to exchange services, trying to sell, because they have a currency that allow them to connect basically to the world economy. So I see quite a lot of potential, and not only for San Salvador. I think duplicating this in different parts of the world, whether this is Costa Rica, Honduras, could be Brazil soon, is very promising, and we need to we definitely need to be there to help this adoption from the ground be even more efficient, kind of industrialize also the process. But on that, I'm sure that Galoy has a big experience with Bitcoin Beach for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, you know, one of the pictures from the event the other day, Chimpera was sending me a couple pictures of you know, onboarding people to Bitcoin Beach wallet, and I saw this in every person's hand. And Alexandra, you had this we had this at the conference last year, which is a story of Bitcoin Beach and lessons learned. And one of the lessons is, you know, rather than try and sell people on hard money, just have them use Lightning and have them experience it. And so there's a lot of lessons that you know, Chimbera and the folks at Hope House that they have, and now that at Bitcoin Lake in Guatemala and Bitcoin Akasi in South Africa are developing or riffing or evolving based on what they've learned from Bitcoin Beach. And to tie this back to one of the areas where we started about adopting Bitcoin and the concept of education and making sure that there's an education available, is this idea of like educating the educators, right? Like teaching people how to teach others, right, is such a big thing, right? So whether you're trying to build a community or replicate a Bitcoin Beach like community somewhere else in the world, or I love Chimpera's comment about tourists, right? We had Ricky from the Bitcoin Italia podcast on a Twitter space a few months back, and he lived on Bitcoin for 40 days, and who knows how many people he showed how to accept Bitcoin, right? And he was like this person that Chimpera is talking about, which is like, I'm here because Bitcoin, like I have money and I'm from a different country and I want to spend it. I want to send my money to you. Let me show you how. So I think like there's a lot of these elements, which is like adopting Bitcoin. The summit is a place where people can all come together, share these learnings and methods for orange pilling folks at different levels of the readiness. and then spread back out to the world and spread those learnings around.
Yeah, absolutely. Rodrigo, you mentioned about the initiative that Bill Trufel started and announced actually at the first Adopting Bitcoin, where Salvadorans can pay their regular bills, utility bills with Bitcoin. Can you speak a little how that went and how it was adopted?
I can. It has been a great success, actually. We had a 100% growth in volume each month. So so it's 10 relevant number because the first month was not that big, but still it has been a great experience for Bitfuel because we have also launched that service in the US right now. So El Salvador was an important ground to be able to test how the reception of this. And as you all know, the adoption of Bitcoin in itself is going kind of slowly in El Salvador. We don't know about a percentage, but this is a little, this kind of exceeds the adoption itself. So it was great for us to see that such a product had such a great reception here in El Salvador.
Can you explain quickly, like what kind of bills were
Yes.
users able to pay with that service?
Yeah, we have around 150 products that you can pay. It's everything from your water bill to your telephone bill to your cable bill to paying your credit card bills. We had electricity a little while, but now it has been electricity as well. So everything that you can imagine actually, which this is a huge difference. In the very beginning, Bitcoin Beach, actually, I think it was Mike that did a tweet that it was a great service because now they didn't have to go down to the city to pay for the electricity bill. So this is actually financial inclusion because, as you know, it's only these are old numbers. Only like 30% of the Salvadoran population have a bank account and have the possibility to be able to pay for bills from the comfort of their telephone or their internet. But now everybody that that has a download of a wallet can do that easily. So it has, I think that it shows the potential for what kind of products are going to be popular around the world that are going to promote and the financial inclusion in itself in a practical way.
So in this sense, like El Salvador is a really important sandbox where like companies like Bitfuel can go and roll this out on a significant size of 6 million people living there, or OpenNode can work with McDonald's and just see, okay, how do we work with these big companies? What are the needs? And with this experience, you can then go back to the US or go to other places where you can really scale this up and have the experience from El Salvador to bring it elsewhere, no?
Exactly. We're going to roll out this service in the whole of Latin America the US first, where it's already there, but then comes Latin America and then the rest of the world. So it's extremely interesting for us. It has been a great experience to see this and how it has developed, and the reception, as said, it has been the growth, as said, has exceeded our expectations by far. And for us, we are extremely happy that we could launch it at the Adopting Bitcoin 2021. It was the perfect setting for it.
Yeah. I want to ask, like, when Nayib Bukele announced this, and where were you personally? Like, were you at home? Were you traveling? What was the situation like, and what do you think?
Personally, it was a Saturday. I know those of you who have been to El Salvador, I'm sure you have been to Pollo Campero. So I was at Pollo Campero in La Gran Via having a big, it's like kind of a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I just stuffed the chicken in my mouth, and it was fantastic. I understood what it would mean, but even so, what has happened after that has far exceeded everything that I could imagine. Actually, the response it has had. That's where I was.
That's great. And Vlad, how did you experience that moment? Were you at the conference, or were you back home? And what did you think? Like, the government is taking over Bitcoin now, or Bitcoin takeover by Bukele?
Well, I was not really happy with the way that it happened. Like, I was happy with Bitcoin Beach, but then when, the government announced that if you install this government endorsed wallet, you're gonna receive like, I think it was $10 a Bitcoin. I'm not very sure, but it was
30.
still something. And yes, 30. To the average person, that, I guess that's a very nice amount of money. And I wasn't even sure how it works. Like, is it really the kind of wallet which lets you withdraw to another wallet, or is it just on some government balance sheet, some Excel, where you only transfer? And this only fuels my motivation to provide some education materials for the people on the ground so that they can figure out why they should switch from that government wallet and why it makes sense to preserve their privacy. Because all of this is new and exciting, but at the same time, you want to protect your privacy not just against your government, but against your neighbors and against anyone who can figure out how much money you have. And that's a very bad kind of scenario. Most of the times, it's a good idea to not tell anyone how much money you have. And when it's all open, like not necessarily on Lightning, but even that is observable with some network analysis. And it's kind of ironic to me, and this is like a side note, but all of these companies at the Miami conference started saying, yeah, we're going to adopt Bitcoin, but they waited for Chainalysis to announce that they know how to, surveil the Lightning Network before they announced any kind of support for it. So to me as a Bitcoiner, it kind of hurts, and it only wants me to push and help others figure out their way out.
So Naive Bukele triggered you. Very good. I like triggered Vlad. And Kemal and Andrew, you weren't working with Bitcoin Beach or Galloy at the time. So how has your life changed quite a lot with this announcement, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kamal. I just say, like, I showed my wife. I was like, to my wife, I was like, the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like smoking the cigarette, pointing at the TV. I was like, you've got to watch this video, and watching that announcement, and it was impactful. And I think it was that, but also Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey's talk at the conference, I thought was really interesting as well. I was working in the fiat world at the time, so it actually that conference actually kicked me right out, and I was like, I have to get in this. I'm leaving behind the old world, and I'm going to help support Bitcoin adoption. So sorry, Kamal, go ahead.
No, that was great. I mean, it was very similar to with me. I don't actually remember where I was. Yeah, I don't remember where I was. I was not in Miami. I was watching it, and it was big. It was so earlier than expected. Something like this would happen. It was really an announcement that shook the world in a way and sent shockwaves, and affected my life as well. I was like Andrew, working in the fiat world. Spending my time on Bitcoin as much as I could on the evenings after work or on the weekends. And all of a sudden, thanks to you, Moritz, also I got to know and meet the team at Galloy. And now we can push things forward together. So I'm very grateful for how things developed. Generally, and also for me personally, because now I can just focus on Bitcoin and work with Bitcoiners 24/7, and it doesn't even feel like work because it's what I want to do. And now we're doing a second conference, so it's pretty exciting and pretty cool that we're at this stage now. Never would have thought that never organized the conference before, never organized a Bitcoin conference before the first one. But yeah, we did it somehow. And Bitcoiners are fantastic people, low maintenance. They don't allow anybody to fail, really. It can't go wrong if you plan for Bitcoiners and attract the right people. So that was really cool. Obviously, the conference itself, we were very worried in advance how it would go. There was so much FUD. We've never been to El Salvador. Security concerns, COVID travel concerns, and you name it. I mean, you know how it's been in the last 2 years. And yeah, I'm glad that we now have like a reference, and the COVID madness is ending, so travel should be a little easier, hopefully. Like shortly after the conference, El Salvador itself has made immigration easier and dropped all of the regulation concerning masks and vaccines and whatever, all that nonsense. So I wish they had done that a couple of weeks earlier. That would have helped probably get some of the speakers that couldn't make it because of the regulations, like Francis or Peter Todd or a couple of others that were rejected at the border. Yeah, so very much looking forward to it. And yeah, it changed my life dramatically. And I'm rooting for El Salvador all the time, every day. And
yeah, we're doing it. So like, I have a huge respect for Nicholas because I was going to El Salvador last year and I met him before during an announcement in Portugal, because like, obviously he was integrating Spectre into the stack and I wanted to meet the guy. And I met him again in El Salvador, and sort of, I was trying to drag everybody into some meetings with banks in El Salvador. So we had like one meeting that was really with one bank there. We had Fode, we had Alvaro, Mario, Jose, like Guatemala, El Salvador in the house, Aaron from Vietnam, and Bobo. But I told them that it's just me coming for a coffee. And I came with this whole ragtag gang of Bitcoiners there. And we had a few of these. I had to drag in Nicholas there to one. And I was very happy because the CTO of this bank told him that they're actually talking to Ripple about some kind of solutions and whatever. And Nicholas got so triggered that he basically was getting really angry. And but it was really hard to get you into the meeting because I had to give you my shoes, I had to give you an El Salvador shirt, my headphones. Like I just had to make sure that he comes to this meeting. And then I was smiling when he was like, "Oh, we're talking to Ripple," and I was looking at with big eyes to Nicholas, "Are we doing the conference now?" And you really picked it up despite all the Corona FUD, the security FUD, and then here we are.
Yeah, there was a lot of pushback when I said, "No, we should make a conference." But here is the funny part, Moritz, that you don't know yet. I met the same person yesterday again in the same office, in the exact same, small meeting room, like this no window place, and they still don't get that they have to integrate Lightning. It seems. I mean, I'm pushing for it, but they have integrated the Creo custody solution, and so right now they're like, they don't even know if on their wallet that they want to do Lightning will be here, and I was saying yesterday to them, like, if you don't integrate Lightning, what are you doing? Like, I mean, every wallet in the country, is focused on that. Like, you have to integrate it. And so I guess it's a good reason to make a second conference, inviting back, because he didn't get it the first time, it seems. So.
All right. Just keep pushing. I'll write an email and say, "Hey, guys." We get them there. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So when is the conference coming, Adopting Bitcoin? It's in November, I hear.
yes, so the conference is taking place on November 15 to 17, 2022 in El Salvador at San Salvador at the Crown Plaza. So last year we were at the Sheraton Presidente, which is in San Benito in the center of the town. And this time we're going to be a little bit up north, still San Salvador, but close to the World Trade Center. Yeah, it's a bigger conference center. a bigger hotel with more rooms. So we will have plenty of places for breakout sessions and workshops and unconferencing and hacking.
So it's going to be like an integrated sort of Lightning, Bitcoin, Liquid, whatever hack day there. And we have like for all the devs, it's also very like dev friendly and focused because we have, I think, one dev track, but you also have like one Lightning hack day, like a hack day room. Or how's that structured?
Yeah, it's like the basic structure is like last year. So it's a technical track called the dev track, and a non-technical track called the econ track. And then we have the hack space. And this year we're gonna have the hack space part, which was basically an unconference where people could just on the spot propose sessions that they want to give or take or offer, and put it just on a whiteboard and propose a session and ask who's going to participate. So that element will be back, but we will also like have like workshops like for smaller audiences of 30 to 40 people according to special interests. So people can really focus on certain topics for 90 minutes, be it technical or non-technical. So if someone wants to learn how, for example, to run your own Bitcoin bank on a self-hosted environment, then we hope we'll have a workshop with OpenArms who will show that, and in 90 minutes or 120 minutes or 240 minutes, because or if someone wants to learn how to really push education in terms of Bitcoin forward from Chimbera and Jorge and Mike Peterson, then there's going to be a session for that. And if someone wants to replicate the success of Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica, for example, who have also been bootstrapping quite a circular economy, then hopefully there'll be a session about that, right? So we are looking forward to all the submissions for talks. So there's a call for participation on the website. If you click on submit talk, you can submit your talk and propose it. And as long as it's not some blockchainy crypto shitcoining stuff, this year there is very high chance that it will be accepted, because as I said, like we do have like the location and the different rooms and the number of rooms to accommodate more and different sessions. So in the end, maybe it will be a little bit like nobody will have like the same conference experience, because they can branch out from the main stages into according to their personal interests and go deep in a certain topic and maybe even be more hands-on.
So when I'm like a Bitcoin company and I'm looking to like buy a solution, is there like a solution stage where I can hear about what Gallo is doing and what OpenNode is doing and everybody else is sort of offering, or Blockstream is doing with Liquid? So is there a solution stage or something?
That's an idea that we have. Yeah. So I guess we don't have the solution stage as of yet, but I think it's a good idea. And definitely, like if there's companies building on Bitcoin, building on Lightning, they should be getting in touch and submitting here. And a solution stage, if we get enough, could definitely be something that we could do. And it would also be very useful, in my opinion.
Okay. So it's also good for B2B. If I want to buy a solution or if I want to sell a solution, it's good also to meet your probably competitors. I mean, we're all on Team Bitcoin, but it's interesting to see what other people are doing. So it's interesting as a company to bring in your engineering teams and also probably meet a lot of clients, because like what we see in the sandbox of El Salvador is very successful. So this time we can expect that more people are coming from the enterprise background and want to have a look, probably, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's also very interesting, what we did last year was like this business speed dating, where Salvadoran businesses met with Bitcoin companies and just had a face-to-face chat with them, explained to them what they do, what solutions they offer, what problems they solve, and I think we should be doing something like that again. But yeah, we're a little bit early still, so it's not all full fleshed out. But those are the questions like that we want to focus on and solve, and really bringing people together for networking, and understanding like who has the solution to my problem, which direction should I be looking, what companies and solutions should I be considering for my use case, and bringing everyone together for 3 days. I think that's the main thing, like just being together, and the rest will come.
And do we have a Bitcoin beach party at the end, like last year with sunset and drinks and whatever? Is there something planned?
Yeah, that's the plan again. We're going to do it a little bit different than last year. Last year, we unfortunately didn't know better than bringing everyone to El Tunco. But I think this year we'll just stay in Bitcoin Beach, where people can just have their naked feet in the sand with a beer in the hand, and that they bought over Lightning, and enjoy the sunset over the Pacific.
Yeah. It was an amazing moment after the conference, and like the energy was still there, everybody chatting, and you just walked around there and you can see everybody. I think that was the best moment of this week for me, at least. All right. Yeah, I mean, check out adoptingbitcoin.org. That's the website we just been at. This is where you can get all the information. It's not all there yet. We haven't announced any speakers as of yet. So we're gonna do that probably in 1 month when there's gonna be a price hike. So the ticket price is going up forever. So currently there is very little information. So the price is rather cheap. With $150, you can get a general admission to the conference, and starting on June 15th, the price will go up to $225, and it will continue like that until the end, until the conference starts. And I think that's it. Let's do it.
Oh.
Alrighty, guys. So are we doing another call like this in the future to give an update on what's the planning and stuff?
Yeah, I think we should. First of all, thanks that you all guys found the time to join, and also thanks for agreeing to advise us and to keep us honest while Nor and I put the conference together. So we're going to leverage.
you just call me for crazy ideas. That's okay.
Exactly. Oh my God, Moritz has a crazy idea again. No, I think we should do this when we have a little bit more information. Maybe after the price jump, or maybe a little later, when we have a couple of speakers and we have a little bit more to tell about how the conference experience will be. And until then, stay safe, everyone. Chill adoptingbitcoin.org. Bring your friends, bring your family. El Salvador is a beautiful country, and if Bitcoiners don't come, then and make it a success, who will? Like,
it's not going to happen without us.
I don't know. I don't want to go so far, but I also don't want to leave the vacuum to people like, I don't know, Brock and Roger Ver and all these clowns, you know. So,
true.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining today. So that was our first episode of Adopting Bitcoin: A Conversation with Galoy, and of the season 2. And hope to see you guys soon.
We'll be in touch. All right.
Thanks all.
Bye bye.
Cheers.